Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Alien RPG core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game based on the popular horror franchise, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about space combat. Space battles in 2183 are short, sharp, and brutal, with the victory often going to the ship who spots the enemy first and gets their best shot in. The system in this role-playing game is designed to manage combat between a few ships per side. The typical combat encounter is a one-on-one ship duel. Space combat takes longer than ground combat, both in real time and game time, and is therefore played out in turns instead of rounds. Spaceship crews can vary greatly, from a single person to scores of people. Typically, crews are divided into the following positions during combat. For very small ships, a single person can fill 2 or even more positions. Note that a mother or similar ship computer mainframe can fill any or all of the crew positions if needed. You have the captain, which is the overall command of the ship. This captain gives orders and draws initiative. You have the sensor operator. You operate the ship sensors using the ComTech skill. You have the pilot, the person at the flight controls. This position, of course, makes piloting roles for ship maneuvers, modified by the ship's thrusters rating. You have the gunners, which fire the ship's armaments using the ranged combat skill. Each weapon or countermeasure generally requires at least one gunner. Then we have the engineers. You make emergency repairs using the ComTech or heavy machinery skill. The game uses abstract zones similar to ground combat, but in space, one zone can be hundreds or even thousands of kilometers wide. Also, all movement only takes place in one dimension along a range track, an abstraction of the three-dimensional movement that is actually taking place. To keep track of ship distances, you can use a space combat map found at the back of this book. Like in ground combat, the range between you and your enemy is divided into range categories, such as short, medium, or long, to name a few. Spaceships travel at incredible speeds. This means that two ships approaching on different velocity vectors will quickly pass beyond the range of each other's weapons. Drastically changing your vector is hard. This means most combat encounters will be brief. When two ships approach each other, the Game Master sets the initial approach velocity. It's typically 2 zones per turn, but can be higher or lower depending on the situation. If two ships have synced their vectors, their approach velocity is 0. If more than 2 ships are involved in the encounter, they are divided into 2 sides. All ships on each side have an initial approach velocity against the ships on the other side. Now, when it comes to detection, Starship sensors have extreme range, that is 8 zones. When 2 ships enter sensor range of each other, they will automatically detect each other's presence. If you use the space combat map, place a marker representing each ship on the outermost zones. It's important to note that all civilian spacecraft are required to travel with their transponders switched on. The transponder transmits data about the ship's position, name, class, home port, and destination. If the approaching ship has an active transponder, you will immediately learn this information, and you are able to target the ship with your ship armaments. Traveling with your transponder switched off is unlawful and regarded with suspicion. Only smugglers and military vessels do that. If the approaching ship is running silent, your sensor operator needs to make a successful target lock action before you can target it with your weapons. Staying hidden as long as possible, often by controlling your heat and electronic emissions, can be the key to victory. By powering down your engines and sensors, you can make it harder for an approaching ship to lock onto you. This can be done even before the encounter starts, if you expect trouble. Turning off your sensors reduces your signature rating 1 step, while powering down your engines reduces your signature 2 steps. When your sensors are down, you cannot target lock. When the engines are offline, you cannot perform any pilot actions at all. Powering a ship back up takes 1 turn. Let's talk about initiative and turns. When you encounter an approaching ship, draw initiative. This works just like in personal combat, but only the captain of each ship draws an initiative card. Each turn of space combat has 4 phases, and each ship gets to perform one action in each phase. All ships perform their action in the phase in initiative order before moving on to the next phase. The 4 phases are Sensor, Pilot, Gunner, and Engineer phase. Now when it comes to actions, in each phase, the captain of each ship orders the active crew members, Sensor Operator, Pilot, Gunner, Engineer, to perform one action from the list of available actions from the phase. A crew member can only perform one action per turn. There are no fast and slow actions in space combat. Also, there are no stunts for skill rolls. Instead, the action listings determine the effects of additional 6s rolled. Also, unlike personal combat, guessing your enemy's moves is difficult in space combat. Therefore, each ship selects its action in each phase secretly. Actions are declared simultaneously and then performed in initiative order. Once all 4 phases are completed, a new turn begins. You have reactive actions. Some actions during space battles are reactive, just like blocking in close combat. That means that they break the normal initiative order in the turn. There are also order markers. To declare actions, you can use the order markers included in the boxed Alien RPG starter set. The active person on each ship, player or game master, secretly hides an order marker with the chosen action in their hand, and these are then revealed. If you don't have access to the order markers, you can simply note down your actions on a piece of paper instead. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about the different space combat actions that you can take. As you can see, spaceship combat is a bit more complex and highly lethal. I recommend that you only undertake it during key moments of your scenarios. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for the crew to survive. And it may end up breaking the pace of a suspense or horror-focused scenario. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.